Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by WeUni in collaboration with Asper School of Business. My name is Florencia, and I will have the pleasure of being your host throughout this event today. First of all, I want to thank you for joining this webinar. We know your time is really valuable, and that's why we have prepared a very special session with representatives of Asper School of Business, who will share their insights and experience with all of you. Before we start, a quick information for our participants. During this presentation, you can submit all your questions to the speakers throughout the Q&A box at the bottom of Zoom. At the end of the talk, we will open a Q&A session, and our speakers will answer directly with you. Okay? Also, for those that are interested on receiving a certificate of attendance issued by WeUni, at the end of this session, we will share the link in the chat so that you can register and receive it. Now, let me introduce today's special speakers from Asper. Okay, we are here with Bernard Crocker, lead undergraduate student recruitment, and Sidhant Sharma, business analyst and Asper's former student from India. Hello, Berna, and hello, Sidhant. It's truly an honor to have you with us. Welcome, and thank you for joining this webinar. So today, we are going to talk about studying business in Canada. And during this session, we will understand why Asper is among the top 6% of business schools worldwide, learn about opportunities and career outcomes after graduation, and get a realistic perspective on studying, working, and living in Canada. That's why we have Sidhant with us today. With that said, I'll now hand it over to Berna to begin the presentation, and I'll let you enjoy the webinar. Berna? Hey.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that, Floor. As already mentioned, welcome so much to the Asper School of Business presentation. Today, we're talking about studying in Canada from an international student to career success at the Asper School of Business. So before we jump right in, I think it's nice to kind of go over some information. My name is Verna Kraker. I am the lead undergraduate student recruiter for the Asper School of Business. If you have any questions after today's webinar, feel free to submit them in the Q&A and we'll answer them after the presentation. But otherwise, if you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can email me at asperundergradrecruit@umanitoba.ca. My job is essentially to help make this transition a seamless one. So if you have questions, you just want to know a little bit more about what the University of Manitoba is like, or the business school, or you need some assistance applying, that is essentially where I come in and I can help you with every step of the process. So please don't be shy and please feel free to reach out to me directly. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the University of Manitoba because I do want to give you some context of where our business school is located. We'll talk a little bit about Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada as well. We're also going to discuss why you should consider the Asper School of Business. Then I'm going to hand it over to Sid, who's going to talk about his international student experience. So he was actually a student with us here at the Asper School of Business, and now he's very successful and has a career here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I'll let him talk about that. Then I'm going to touch on some opportunities to learn outside of the classroom. So something that we refer to as experiential learning opportunities. And then we're going to end off with some admission requirements, applying all of that information, and then, of course, the Q&A at the end. So if you decide to come to study in Canada, we are known for being very welcoming, friendly, and safe. So Canada is ranked among the top 4% or fourth in the world for best education systems. So you are going to be getting a really great quality of education if you decide to come to Canada. It remains a very top destination for international students. And because we are so welcoming and friendly, I think that really shows that as well. We are very diverse and we have a very inclusive environment. So we really do welcome people from all over the globe. I understand that there's people from all over the world here, so that's really exciting. Welcome. We really hope that you kind of feel that throughout this webinar as well. You can explore flexible and really high quality education options coming to study with us here at the Asper School of Business. And you get a long-term return on your investment. So the University of Manitoba in general is known for being very cost-effective. So you do get a really great quality of education for a fraction of the price in some of our national competitors. So it's definitely something to look into if that's something that you're really cognizant of. We are located in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So a lot of times when I talk to international students, they hear about Toronto or Montreal or British Columbia, right? Vancouver. And they don't necessarily always think of Manitoba or Winnipeg. We are located right in the heart of Canada, so right in the middle if you're looking at us geographically. We offer very affordable housing and a low cost of living and diverse employment options here within the city of Winnipeg. We were actually named one of Canada's best communities by Maclean's. So you are going to be getting a wonderful experience to live here as well. We have over 130 days of festivals here within Winnipeg. There's actually a festival going on right now, which is our winter festival, Festival des Voyageurs. So there's many different festivals happening throughout your time here in Winnipeg. You will never be bored, and you do experience all 4 seasons. So sometimes people say Winnipeg or they say Winterpeg, but we don't just have winter here, of course. We are known for our winter, but we also have a beautiful fall, spring, as well as a gorgeous summer. So there's lots of experiences to have within all the 4 seasons. And we have over 1,300 different urban parks. So Winnipeg has a beautiful canopy, and it's a wonderful place to live and study. Just for some context, the average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in Winnipeg, as you can see at the bottom of the screen there, is just under $1,300 a month. That's Canadian, of course. Whereas some of our other cities here nationally, something like Vancouver is over double that. So again, you can really see the affordable housing options. And this is something that you can consider, of course, while you're an international student studying with us. But it is also something to consider if you maybe decide to immigrate somewhere, that it is more cost effective as well. So a little bit about the University of Manitoba. If you haven't heard of us before, we were established in 1877, which makes us the oldest university in Western Canada. We were recently ranked the top 6 in Canada by Times Higher Education rankings. So it's a really, really great honor to be seen as a really top tier school. And you can earn a great Canadian degree at one of Canada's lowest international tuition rates. So you can really get a good bang for your buck. We are also a part of the U15. So there's 15 universities across Canada that have that prestigious honor. Basically means that we're a research-intensive doctoral school. So all of the universities listed here are U15 members. It means we have to adhere to certain standards in order to maintain that level. You can see the University of Manitoba is one of these, and it means you're going to get a similar level of education throughout all of these different universities. So that is something to keep in mind. Again, especially when we're talking about standards and value for money, you can see that you are going to be getting a really good quality of education coming to study with us here at the University of Manitoba. We are home to an inclusive and culturally rich and diverse community. At the University of Manitoba, you'll be a part of about 31,000 students. So we're a fairly large to mid-sized institution for Canada specifically. And out of those 31,000 students, we have about 21% of them being international. And they're representing over 122 different countries around the world. So you will definitely experience some diversity here and a welcoming community. We do have about 221,000 alumni representing 134 different countries around the world. So again, those are students that have graduated from our institution and have gone, and taken their degrees worldwide as well. So that's a little bit of information about where we are located and which institution we belong to. So we're belonging to the University of Manitoba, but I wanted to specifically talk to you today about the business school. So our Asper School of Business is a program or a faculty inside the University of Manitoba. And so why should you consider the Asper School of Business? We are ranked among the top 6% of business schools in the world. That's proudly accredited by AACSB. So you are going to get a great quality of education. I know sometimes, depending on where you're coming from in the world, rankings can mean a lot, or they can maybe not mean a lot. It really depends on where you're coming from. But those two particular accreditations should really speak to the great quality of education you're going to be getting here. So the fact that we belong to a U15 university and an AACSB accredited business school, you're going to be getting a great quality of education. You're going to get world-class student learning from leading professionals in the industry. So many of our professors have earned many awards for various topics in the business climate. So you can definitely take a look at that. We have a huge commitment to learning opportunities outside of the classroom as well. So not only will you be learning really good quality content within your classes, but you'll also have the opportunity to have a lot of experiences outside of the classroom, which Sid will be talking about, as well as myself. So there's lots of options there as well. And you're going to connect to a supportive and welcoming community. Asper students are some of the most engaged students, both on and off campus. And I understand from an international perspective how big of a decision it is to leave your home country and to go somewhere else. So it's not something that we take lightly. It's something that we really want you to feel welcomed here. When you decide to come to the University of Manitoba, we hope that you really feel that coming here. I just wanted to show you a few photos of what the Asper School of Business looks like. So on the top left-hand corner of this slide, you will see the outside of the Drake Center. This is the home base essentially for Asper students. So a lot of Asper courses will be taught in this particular building. It is referred to as the Drake Center, the Asper School of Business. To the top right-hand side of the building, right-hand side of the slide, you will see the lobby area. So it's very modern on the inside. The top two bottom photos, or I should say the bottom photos, one to the left is a picture of a classroom, and to the right is a picture of a locker or common area for students. Our classrooms have all been recently renovated, so they all have dual AV, really good student learning experience. And then, of course, you can rent a locker as well as a part of our main floor there. So if you are looking at studying in business, we do have 11 different majors that you can choose from coming to study with us. So we have a lot of different options. I'm not going to spend this entire presentation talking about what majors are what. If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer that in an email or further discussion later on. But we have things like accounting, actuarial mathematics, business analytics, of which Sid, I'm sure, will talk a little bit more about, entrepreneurship and innovation, finance, human resource management and industrial relations, generalist degree, Indigenous business studies, marketing, strategy and global management, and then, of course, supply chain management and logistics as well. Now, a major is essentially like a subject area that you choose, and most of your classes are within that particular area. You can also do something like a double major with our degrees. So perhaps you wanted to focus in on accounting, but also focus in on finance. You could do a double major where you are majoring in both. We do also have minor options available as well. So you can actually take a minor in a completely different faculty here at the University of Manitoba, to really fit your degree, to fit in your individual career objectives. So let's say you wanted to do something like a computer science minor. You could fit that with your Asper degree as well. So just to give you a quick snapshot of what your first year courses would look like, this is our foundational first year. So students would be looking at taking 2 economics courses, a math class, a statistics class, a written course, and then a business and society course, and then some non-business electives as well. So non-business electives are essentially classes that are like free options outside of the faculty that you could then take, and it will still fulfill degree requirements here at the University of Manitoba. So this is essentially what your foundation courses would look like. Then once you would choose your major, you'll have more specific courses depending on the major that you choose. So that's essentially a little bit about Asper, about University of Manitoba. And now I'm going to hand it over to Sid, who's going to talk a little bit about his experience in the program, as well as what he's doing now. I'll pass it over to you, Sid.
Awesome. Thanks, Verna. And good morning, everyone. It's generally great to be here and get to share my story with all of you today. So my name is Sidhant Sharma, but please call me Sid. And I've been in Winnipeg for just over 10 years now. A bit of my background, I was born in India. I completed my high school in Ghana and then moved here just before my 18th birthday to start university. So when I say I've been in your shoes, I truly have. And obviously, I reflect back and I recall sitting exactly where you guys are sitting right now. I was comparing cities, I was comparing universities, I was thinking about the tuition amounts that different universities would charge, thinking about leaving home, and all of this led to me wondering, am I making the right decision for my future? And I'll be honest, I understand that all of this can feel really overwhelming. The way I went about making this decision was the biggest factor that helped me narrow down was knowing that I wanted to receive high quality education, but at an affordable cost. And that's kind of where the U of M definitely came in. At the end of the day, this isn't just an investment. This is an investment, sorry, but it's not one that you only do financially. You're also focused on the emotional aspect of things. There's a lot riding on this for you personally, as well as for your family. And it was that clarity that made my decision easier. And when I took the decision, I ended up moving from Ghana and came to the U of M just over 10 years ago. When I was deciding, I tried not only to think about the present, well, the campus that Verna just showed, the atmosphere of the campus, the location in the country, all of that matters. But there was one question that I kept asking myself. And that question was, what would my life look like 4 years from now when I'm holding that degree? And it was that question that changed almost everything for me. I knew I was moving to a new country. At that time, I didn't know anyone in Canada. I wasn't going to have my family here with me. I wasn't going to have my closest friends with me. And that can be challenging. But what I really prioritized was 2 things. Number one, a sense of community. and the exposure that I would receive when I would move to the U of M. I wanted a place where I just wouldn't attend classes, but where I could build relationships. And that's where I got at the U of M. Throughout my time here, right off the bat, because there's so many other international students when you move in here, you already have people that you can connect with, whether from your same country that you're coming from, whether from different countries, but you already have something in common. That is, all of you have packed up your bags, moved to a new country, and you're trying to settle in together. So that ends up being a great avenue of making those initial friends. So when I look back, especially in my first year, a lot of my friends were other international students. And I got to learn so much from them, so much about their culture, while also sharing a bit more about mine. And that definitely made me feel a lot more comfortable. As I started to feel more acclimatized to the Canadian society, I started to make a lot of other friends as well. So, domestic students, Canadians, and what you realize that in your classes, in any other events that are happening, all of you are working on things together. So there really isn't a separation factor. Everyone's working together as a unit. The diversity within universities in Canada is acknowledged, but it's never a reason for separation. I felt most of my friend groups are very diverse, and because everyone came from a different country, we would have different cultures, different traditions, and different festivals that we would celebrate, and all of that made me feel that I was part of something. And when we say Canadians are friendly and welcoming, that truly is the case because a lot of domestic students, when I would share a bit more about my experience with them, they would want to ask more. They would be curious. They'd want to understand a lot more about myself. And I think I valued that interest in terms of where that was coming from. Secondly, the one important decision factor that stood out for me was the exposure. Now, kind of like I said at the start, there is a lot riding on your move to Canada or to a new country without your family, without your friends, without your support system, essentially. Through the community that you will build here, you form that support system for yourself. But what's important is that you grow and you do things outside of your comfort zones. I get a bit into that about my presentation later on, but the U of M gives you exposure to different things. It allows you to try out a variety of activities, whether that might be internships, exchange programs, take part in debate competitions, and so forth, that allow you to try skills that you haven't had a chance to earlier. So these two are the factors that really helped ease my decision. And what that stemmed to, so I'll dive a bit into my experience. What that stemmed was at the end of my degree. So I graduated in 2021 with the Bachelor of Commerce honors. But what that gave me at the end of my 4 5 year degree was a very strong personal and professional network. The personal network came from the sense of community, was my classmates, the friends I made through participating in student groups, through going on exchange programs. And the personal growth came from the networking events that I attended that Asper would organize. There were a lot of industry associations that we would frequently meet with. And all of that gave me a really strong professional network that I was able to leverage when I was graduating. And looking back, when I had first moved to Winnipeg, if someone had said, at the end of your degree, you will have a circle of friends that continue to be your friends for the longer term, and you will have industry professionals and mentors that you can rely upon and go to them for advice, I would have said that would make my experience a very successful one. So I'm glad that was the case in my end. One of the biggest advantages that I want to stress about the Asper School of Business and about my experience would be the experiential learning of things. Varna alluded to the experiential learning earlier. In simple terms, experiential learning, what it means is you're not just reading the theory about a particular subject or about a particular topic, you're actually going ahead and doing it. For me, one of the biggest game changers was co-op terms. Now, coming from sort of a Southeast Asian background, academics is heavily stressed upon, and a few of you might be able to relate to that. Within Canada, there is that focus on academics as well, but you balance that out with the skills that you have to offer, both soft skills and hard skills. Co-op essentially allowed me to discover what those skills were that I possessed and what I needed to improve upon. What co-op terms are, they're basically internships, or they're the equivalent to internships. As part of the co-op program throughout my degree, I did 3 internships. So each internship lasts for 4 months. I did 3 internships, and you get to work with 3 different employers during that time. The advantage of that, number one, confidence, because while you're in university, everything that you're learning, you have the ability to apply that knowledge into the real world or into a real world scenario. And you very quickly realize the difference between theory and the real world and how do you balance both together. So I think that was what also helped me gave me a lot more of those networking opportunities that I was looking for. And if you're ever unsure about what industry to try, co-op really comes in handy because it could be, and I had friends that were into this scenario where they thought they wanted to do a finance major, they went into their first co-op term within a finance position, only to realize, hey, you know what, this isn't for me. And I think that's one of the greater advantages of studying at the U of M, as well as studying in Canada in general, is you get to decide what is it that you want to do by experiencing it. You're not basing it off of grades, you're not basing it off of passions or interests. You truly get to try out what is it that you want to do. And once you know your passion lies in it and you're good at creating an impact on the job that you're doing, then you're able to move on. Some of the other real world opportunities that I got would be an exchange program to Israel. This is a special program that the Asper School of Business offers. So not all universities across Canada even offer this, but it certainly has to be one of the most memorable times throughout my undergrad degree. This was only for a month. We had students from Israel come to Winnipeg, spend a few days with us. All of this is while you're taking a course together on sustainability and global management. So topics that are very prevalent to all of us. We got to spend some time with them in Toronto and then ended the exchange off by visiting Israel and spending time with our Israeli classmates. So it's very culturally immersive. You learn so much about each other. And once again, the idea being you continue to expand yourselves from a thinking perspective and you continue to place yourself in positions where you didn't think you would. Once again, 18-year-old me that moved to Winnipeg, I never thought I would have had the opportunity to even travel to Israel or meet with, Israeli classmates and folks that I'm friends with till date. In addition to the academics that we mentioned, student council, debate, case competitions, all of them end up being, or at least in my case, were vital to my success that I have had right throughout. All 3 student council, debate, case competitions, they placed me in roles where I got leadership experience right when I was in university. So even pre going into the real world workforce, I had leadership experience that I could count on. I had argumentative skills, I had persuasive skills, I was good at thinking on my feet, and it's through these debate and case competitions that I was able to experience that. So all this to say, while you're learning a lot of these skills, when you go in front of an employer who wants to hire you full time, these are the skills they're looking for. Your grades as a good student definitely matter, but it's these skills that separate you from, your other classmates, especially in competitive states. And I think this is what the Asper School of Business really helped prepare me for. And when I was graduating and applying for different roles, the kind of responses I got from the employers kind of confirmed that. It wasn't just my GPA that stood out. It was all of these experiences and the fact that I had all these stories to share that people were interested in. And it was this combination that helped me secure a full-time job after graduation. Diving into the next couple slides, these are essentially some of the memories that I have built during my time here. What you'll see isn't just photos, at least from my perspective. It's late night studying together. It could be leadership roles, internships, cultural events. Essentially, it's all of the friendships that I have made in Winnipeg that have made Winnipeg feel like home. And all of that combined have really helped me grow, not just academically, but personally. This is a common theme that I've gone back to during my presentation several times. When you first move to Canada, you really don't know anyone. So the fact that you're able to build a sense of community and you're able to build these friends, that's what helps you feel settled in Canada. When you have that confidence, you continue and take all of that and you go on to build a career, you go on to build and establish a future for myself. And all of that at the end helped me belong here. And I think I'll always be grateful for that. Next slide, please, Werner. continuing on, I think the one major experience I kind of wanted to share here was, which a lot of you might be looking forward to, is what happens when you discuss or think about jobs in the future. While a degree is great and it sets you up for all these experiences and you graduate with the academic knowledge, especially as a business school in Winnipeg, Winnipeg has a very tight business community. It's a very tight-knit business community. And graduating from the Asper School of Business carries a weight associated with it. People look upon the school favorably, and they know the level of potential you have to offer when they see that you've graduated from the Asper School of Business. The experiences I shared that I was privileged to be a part of, such as debate and case competitions and student council, exchange program, the co-op, which were the internships, when you have that on your resume, employers understand the potential that you have because they see that you were someone who wanted to be placed in different situations so you could learn as much as possible. When you have that, they want you to be a part of your team so you can show the impact that you're able to create. I'll share a story that was true in my case. When I was graduating in 2021, I didn't just want to hit the job boards or apply on LinkedIn or Indeed and, apply to a ton of jobs. My idea was I had thought I had performed or done built good relationships during my time at the Asper School of Business, and I wanted to leverage that. So I was essentially looking for someone who I'd network with, and I reached out to them and I said, "Hey, I'm about to graduate in a couple months. This is everything that I've done so far in terms of either projects that I've done within university, in terms of side projects that I've taken on because I had personal interest in them. This is what I think I'm capable of offering, and what I'm essentially looking for is a sign for someone to say, yes, we have faith in you." And that's kind of how I secured my first full-time role post-graduation. It was built on the networking that I had done during university. And like I said, Winnipeg's a very tight-knit community. So people are always willing to sort of introduce you to different folks, and in case that they might be able to help you. And at that time, it was my dream role to be a business analyst. I always wanted to be at the intersection of sort of technology and business. And when I graduated from the U of M with a double major, so I did finance and business analytics, I was able to secure a job within the BA realm. And all of that just goes to show that U of M does set you up with a very strong foundation. And I think it's something I would highly recommend that all of you kind of keep in mind as you think about this as well. I think the last thought that I'll end off with is when it comes to choosing a university, you're not just choosing a campus, but essentially you're choosing the environment that will be very powerful in shaping you over the next, 4 to 5 years. So think about your future self, think about where is it that you want to grow, and think about the type of people that you want around you when you're making that decision about choosing where to go for university. And for me, I think Winnipeg and the U of M gave me that foundation. And I do hope wherever you end up choosing where it is that you want to go, you choose a place that challenges you, that supports you, and helps you become sort of your best version. But I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Sid. That is all very, very helpful. I really hope you feel that the University of Manitoba is a place where you can feel really comfortable, be pushed, to grow, and we are here every step of the way. So people like myself exist to make that process a little bit more seamless. And I'm so glad that, Sid, you had an amazing experience here. I know it's a really tough thing to choose to come to a university and leave your home and everything familiar and what you know. So that's not something that we take light here, and we understand that, and we know that international students bring so much culture, so much richness to our environment here, and we really appreciate anyone that decides to come. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some student experience and experiential learning opportunities next here. So I'm not going to touch too much on this because Sid already did, but just to let you know that we do have co-op opportunities. You are able to do 3 work terms. So that actually works out to 12 months of paid work experience. Sometimes students graduate from university and they start like looking into jobs, and they go, oh, this job requires a year of experience. How am I supposed to get that? these are the types of opportunities that you can, participate in and get that experience. Another thing that kind of Sid talked about, and I think is just something that's very important to highlight here as well, is co-op is a great way to try before you buy, right? If you're not sure that you want to do finance, or you kind of have an idea that you want to do it, but you're not 100% sure, why not take a co-op in it? See if that business environment is right for you, and do the same thing across 3 different work terms to figure out what best suits you and what you want to do going forward. You can do this as early as 2nd year and up, and it is a fantastic opportunity for students. About 98% of our students do find employment within 3 months of graduation in usually their co-op. So that's an amazing statistic to show you that you are, I don't want to say guaranteed a job, but almost guaranteed a job right out of university, which is incredible. Over the next couple of slides, I will be sharing some QR codes. If you want to learn more about our programs or these different areas, you can always scan the QR code to find out more. We also have a very large international exchange program. So international exchange is an amazing opportunity. We have the largest exchange program in all of Manitoba. It's basically where you can travel abroad and earn credits towards your degree. So perhaps you come to the University of Manitoba, you're really enjoying yourself, but you also maybe want to go do an exchange in Australia or something like that. You can do that, and actually you still pay the same University of Manitoba tuition as if you were studying here. So it's just an amazing way to differentiate yourself. We have partnerships with over 65 different institutions around the world in 35 different countries. So there's lots of opportunities to do an exchange as well. We also have a lot of case competitions. So again, Sid talked about this, but if you're looking to showcase your skills in a case competition, both locally, nationally, or internationally, you can do that. They're available for all experience levels at many different times available. So again, you can scan the QR code there to learn more about that as well. And we have lots of different student groups. So we talked a lot about community. We understand how important it is to establish a home away from home, right? We don't want you to feel like you're coming to a different country and you are just left alone. We want you to feel supported, to feel like you have people in your corner. And the best way to do that is by investing in yourself and by allowing yourself to have experiences like student groups or any of these other experiential learning opportunities. Because really what's going to happen is you're going to meet people that are going to support you and show up for you. So these things like a Commerce Student Association, like the CSA or student action groups, they exist in every single major. You can find like-minded people, develop a great friendship, and really learn outside of the classroom as well. So those are things that I would highly, highly recommend if you are looking at studying here with us. So I know some of you already are asking in the question box, are the applications open or what are the admission requirements? So we'll talk about that now, the admission requirements and applying. So because I understand this webinar is reaching all areas of the globe, I do think it's important to define 2 different types of students that may enter into our university. So the first thing is direct entry students and advanced entry students. So direct entry students are for students who are currently in high school, maybe you're planning on graduating soon, or maybe you have less than 24 credit hours at a post-secondary institution. You would then come and apply as a direct entry student. Advanced entry is for students who have completed more than 24 credit hours of post-secondary study at a recognized college or university. So you might be applying in this particular category if you are planning on doing that. If you already have a degree, you might be looking at graduate level studies. We do have those options. That is not my level or not my area of expertise, but we do have master's and PhD programs as well. And I can connect you with the correct people for that if that's an area of interest. So for admission requirements, we do have to meet a couple of different things. So the general entrance requirements for the University of Manitoba will depend on the country that you're coming from. Generally, it's high school graduation with 5 courses, senior level courses to graduate with. But then there are specific requirements depending on the program of interest that you're looking at. So if you're looking at business, for example, right now we require a minimum, an equivalent minimum average of 85% over the following courses with no less than 70% in each class. That's English, pre-calculus mathematics, a third and a fourth academic class. So that could be something like history, or English, or something like that, that we would be looking at to compute towards this average. You would be admitted on your interim grades. So that's something to keep in mind. That allows us to start moving on with the applications and the admission process a little bit sooner rather than later. I understand this is very broad right now because it depends on the area that you're studying in. And I'm going to show you where you can find that information right away. We do have our applications open already for fall 2026. So this upcoming September, if you wanted to join us, you still have time to apply. The deadline to apply is March 1st, 2026. So in about 2 weeks, we will be having that application closed. So definitely keep that in mind if you are thinking of applying. So just to give you a bit of a timeline here for direct entry admission, our applications always open in October. November through March is usually when conditional or provisional offers of admission go out to international students. Direct entry application deadline is March 1st. So again, that's coming up very quickly. May is when we require you to submit your documents. So once you apply to the University of Manitoba, your application will be published, and within about 10 business days, you'll be able to see specifically to yourself what documents are required of you. Okay, so that's something to be mindful of as well. And then May and June is when final offers of admission go out to students. So if you're looking at applying, which I hope you are, this is what it looks like on our website. So if you want to scan the QR code, we'll be brought to a website that looks exactly like this. What you're going to do is select the faculty. You're going to select business, IH Asper School of, and then you're going to select business or Asper School of Business again. It's going to give you the deadlines there. So I'm looking specifically at direct entry, assuming a lot of you are direct entry. The deadline is March the 1st. What you're simply going to do is click on the start or continue your application. You'll then be brought to a page that will tell you to create an account, and then you can start applying from there. It is a $120 application fee for international students, but your application is not considered it's not considered sent in until you submit it and pay it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So if you're looking at applying here, if you go to this website here, you'll be able to click or scan the QR code at the bottom there, and you will be brought to a page that looks like this. So this will actually help you determine exactly what you need depending on where you live. So you'll scroll down, you'll see which country you're coming from. So as I mentioned, I had to keep things pretty broad when I talk about what the requirements are per country, because every single country is different with what you graduate with from, whether you're doing IB or all sorts of things really change. So definitely click on your area that you're studying in, and you can find out more information of the specific requirements for Asper there. Then we do have English language proficiency requirements as well. I'm being mindful of the time here. I have a couple slides yet. So all applicants are required to submit English or proof of English language proficiency. There's different waivers, but there's also different tests that you can take. TOEFL minimum 86%, no less than 20 in each component. And IELTS is a 6.5 overall, no less than 6 2.0 in each module, and then a Duolingo test there as well. So there are different requirements too. Let's say you want a university degree and you meet the academic requirements that I just talked about. You also meet the English language proficiency. Fantastic. You can apply directly to our program. If, let's say, you meet the academic requirements, but you need to upgrade your English to meet the proficiency requirements, we also have something called the English Language Center, which is an intensive academic English program that you can take and then apply into the program afterwards as well. Or we also have a pathway program. So let's say you don't meet the University of Manitoba's admission requirements. We also have a program called the International College of Manitoba, ICM, which you can apply to, take 2 years there, and then come into Asper. You'd still take the same types of courses, and it's still actually situated here on our campus, so you kind of get the same feel, and then you can come into the University of Manitoba. So there are different pathways to get into our programs as well, which I do want you to be aware of. We are very affordable and a high return on investment. So this is something I did want to share with you. I took a look at all the U15 universities across Canada and AACSB accredited business schools, and you can see that the University of Manitoba is the cheapest of all of them. So you are getting a similar quality of education for a fraction of the price in some of these examples. So definitely a great return on investment if you are looking at applying and you're a little bit worried about costs, you can take a look at that. We also have general entrance scholarships starting at $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 Canadian. This is something that we're given out automatically. So as long as you apply by March the 1st and you have an 85% average above on 5 pre-approved courses, you're automatically considered for these entrance scholarships. And then Asper has additional scholarships as well, some of which are automatic and some of which you can apply to. So you can scan the QR code there to learn more as well. Last but not least, if you've learned a little bit more about the University of Manitoba and you're like, wow, this sounds like a really fantastic institution. Haven't really heard a lot about it and you want to learn more. The University of Manitoba is actually hosting a virtual open house on February 23rd, so next week, from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, so Winnipeg time, check your own time zone. You can register right there on the QR code to learn more about that as well. So I'd welcome you to attend that just to learn a little bit more about our wonderful institution. And so then I will open it up to questions. I know I went a little over time there, Fleur, but hopefully we're okay.
No, Berna, we are okay. We are on time. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you, Sidhant, also for all your insights and what you shared with us. We have a lot of questions. Many of them you have already answered them, but we are going to go through them a little bit in the few minutes we have left. Before that, I am just giving a reminder to our participants. Tomorrow you are going to receive an email from us with the registration of this video and more information about Asper School of Business in case you want to contact them directly and ask them all your questions. And if you still have doubts and questions regarding the programs, the majors, university, life at Winnipeg, and everything you want to know, Berna and her team are willing to answer all your questions directly. What do you think if we start with the questions now, Sidhant and Berna? I'm going to start with Sid because we have some interesting questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. One question from Alice. She says, did it take long to integrate into the school community? And what were the challenges for you, if any? And what's one advice you could give to an international student?
Oh, sweet. Lots to answer there. Um, There's certainly challenges, right? Like I can speak for myself coming from living with my parents. I was obviously used to my parents doing a lot of chores for me right off the bat. So the whole cooking and cleaning and doing your laundry and folding clothes, which I still hate till this date, but all of that takes a toll on you. So I think coming in, you have to be mentally prepared that this will be a change for you, not just geographically. You're not just going into a new school and studying. It's when you get home, you ought to have a habit of doing all those things that you've kind of seen your parents and other family members do. So I think that takes a while for you to settle into. At the same time, what I will say is, and there's no set time frame, right? But say roughly a month later, you start to notice that all of those things become routine to you. And you almost start to enjoy them because you have a sense of independence that you're doing all of these things by yourself. You have made friends, and because those friends are also going through the same challenges, you don't feel alone. You know you have people that you can rely on and share these things to, and they understand where you're coming from. So a lot about my experience was also if I needed to go grocery shopping over the weekend, I would try and do that with friends. So A, I'm not doing things alone. B, it allows me to bond with other people a bit more. Um, and slowly you start to realize how you create a balance for yourself while studying and doing a lot of those other things as well. What was the first bit of the question, Flora? I think I'm forgetting one part.
If it take too long for you to integrate into the school community, but I imagine it didn't.
No,
No.
honestly, everyone's in the same boat. I think that's the one important thing to realize. And it's not a comparison between international and domestic students, right? Everyone's in a new phase of their life. Everyone's looking out to the future. So you're all like-minded. And I think that allows you to use that as a foundation to connect with other people. And most people that I've met in Canada are curious about you. So as long as you're willing to put yourself out there and make friends, they too will show that curiosity. And that's literally how most of my relationships in Canada have formed.
Okay, and that takes me to the next question. They ask if you find Canadians open as a community. Sorry, Berna, but I have to ask it.
No, honestly, it's really funny. Like I am a first generation immigrant myself. So
Okay.
like my whole family comes from Mexico. So I appreciate the candidness and I really hope we are all very welcoming, but I'm gonna let Sid answer that from an international perspective.
For sure. I think, again, for the most part, Canadians are incredibly friendly and welcoming. I think the one thing you have to realize is, and this isn't a Canadian thing, applies to any country, there's always certain people that are more willing to interact with you versus certain people that tend to be a bit more reserved, take a bit more time to open up. And you gauge that, right? That's no different than being in India, Europe, Africa, wherever you are. But for the most part, I think the interactions I've had with Canadians, even if it's I don't know them, but you kind of pass them by and you say a good morning, or you just check in and say, "How's your day?" I've been waiting at the bus stops in the cold. I've had people randomly stop and offer me a ride to the university. And so, there is a lot of kindness in general. And I think Winnipeg sometimes gets a rap for being a smaller city than Toronto or Vancouver. But I think the flip side of that is I think Winnipeg has a slightly more slower pace of life that allows people to be more kinder, that allows people to check in with you and actually care a bit more about you than certain other cities where it's a lot more hustle bustle. People don't have the time to really slow life down.
Okay.
Also, I have to say it's on our license plate. It's Ranley, Manitoba. So that is on our license plate here. But I hope, yeah, I do believe it's a pretty like accepting place, especially when you're studying at a university. Generally people are obviously coming here to be more educated, and hopefully through that education, people are discriminating less from various different countries, of course. And we hope that's never happening anywhere. But yeah, I would say Canadians in general are pretty welcoming to other people.
Okay, thank you. And Sid, what took you to choose? What made you choose Asper and Winnipeg when you were 18 for a place to live and study? Did you
So
already know the city? What was your previous experience?
So, Winnipeg was a very last minute decision, I have to be honest about that. So, I was going to go to Florida for university. So, I was going to go to the US. I had been to Florida. I had seen my university. I had seen the dorm I was going to sleep in. I'd seen the campus. Everything was set. And this is back in 2015. I was in Ghana at that time with my parents. So I've gone back to Ghana. The idea is we're going to start my US visa, like study visa application and all that. And for some reason, I just happened to keep on looking, and I came across the University of Manitoba. I came across Winnipeg, and I just had a gut feeling about it. I just knew that this was the place I kind of wanted to be. And I'll share this, and certain folks might find it relatable. My dad was against it. My dad, just looking at the temperatures that Winnipeg does tend to get to, was like, "Are you crazy?" Like, and obviously that was the more emotional side of him sort of coming out, right? He was being protective as a father, and I remember the recruitment agent we were speaking to at that time. My dad drafted a long email to him with a list of questions, just wanted to find out about a quality of life. What are the systems and mechanisms and infrastructure that you have in place that obviously allow folks to combat the cold and still go about their way of life? And I'm still in touch with the recruitment agent. He took his time, replied with so much detail to my dad, and I think that kind of gave him a lot of confidence to say, yes, the cold can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, but in no way does that mean the life stops in Winnipeg, and you just kind of keep on going. And that sort of consultation assured my parents a lot more about the decision to move here, but it was a gut feeling for me primarily. I think the other factor was, quite frankly, the cost was a big play into it. If I compare to what I was going to pay in Florida for the university, especially in US dollars compared to Canada, Canada was almost 30% of the cost. So which was a big factor, right? I knew financially it was going to be an investment for my family, obviously, moving abroad, and it can be taxing. So, which is why my biggest thing was, how do I make the most of what my parents are sort of putting into this from an educational perspective? And I think that's where Asper came in, because I knew all the opportunities that I had and I could almost leverage to build myself into something. That was kind of the idea is, hey, lower cost, I'm going to get a good education. I know I have potential in a city like Winnipeg after, so and I'll be able to build a career here where I'll be able to be successful. So all of that combined was sort of what went through my mind when I was making that decision.
Oh, good. That was a wise analysis you made. A lot mature for for an 18-year-old person.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes. So the next question is related to budget. You were speaking about cost of living and the university and everything. Patrick's asking, in terms of estimated budget tuition and living expenses, can you give an estimate per year? Maybe, Sidhant, you can share when you were studying, because I know your reality nowadays is different. But
Mhm.
when you were studying, what your estimate budget for living was. And maybe, Verna, you can add some information about the cost of the majors. Okay.
For sure.
For sure. Budget-wise, again, I have to add that sort of a preface is it really depends on what your lifestyle looks like. When I first moved to Winnipeg, initially I stayed on-campus residence for a bit. That was just to kind of settle in, but I knew that was expensive, so the idea was always to kind of move away from campus. My first year, I moved in with two other friends that I had. So just for context, it was a two-bedroom apartment. There was three of us that were sharing the apartment. So that tends to be fairly common for a lot of international students. You move in with your friends and in multiples, you kind of share rent. I remember my first few years, I think roughly on average, I'd be spending about anywhere close to $1,500 monthly, but this would include my rent, my bills, any transportation, groceries. So that was kind of the estimate that I would kind of say to keep an eye out for. And also keep in mind that was several years ago now, so things may or may not have gone up and down. But about the 1,500 mark, I think the best way to think about that is what's like non-negotiable for you. So obviously your rent, any phone bills, internet bills that you have to pay, groceries is essential. You want to focus on your diet, especially when you move to a new country. You want to make sure you're not relying on junk food because that can be really unhealthy. Um, the one good thing is with the U of M. if you're using the public transit. So for the most part, I never drove a car when I first moved here. I was relying on public transit. So you do get your bus pass that's included as part of your tuition. So there was no additional cost for that. Your gym membership is included within your cost of tuition. So you're not paying separately for that. So a couple of those things, if you're focused on fitness and how you kind of get around the city, you already have paid for that. So you didn't need to budget for that separately.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
and you can like sorry,
yes.
there's 6 different residents on campus, so they can really range, and they can they do include a meal plan as well. So you can go from having 1 meal a week, or sorry, 1 meal a day, or you can choose an unlimited meal plan or 3 meals a day. So that's obviously going to change your costs as well. But those can range anywhere from like $8,000 to like $12,000, $13,000. So per year, right? And that's then not including tuition. So tuition is about $25,000 Canadian for a business degree. That might fluctuate slightly depending on the courses that you choose, but that's generally speaking what we're looking at in terms of costs. A lot of times, as Sid was mentioning, what happens is students will apply to housing here at the University of Manitoba. They'll live on campus in their dorms. And then after that, they often meet really great friends and they decide to move to a neighborhood close by. And again, as Sid mentioned, the bus is included in your tuition. So you can still, get to the campus fairly quickly. We have websites where we review the housing accommodations to make sure they're up to a certain standard. To ensure, there isn't a ton of people living in one place or things like that. But yeah, I'm not going to comment on what I paid back when I went to university because it's been too many years now. But not to age myself too much here, but yeah, so I think I can't really comment on that. But as you saw from the statistics in general, if you were like to live on your own completely, it's about $1,200 a month for a 1 bedroom, right? So that may or may not include things like hydro or internet or things like that, right? So that's usually included in those types of buildings. But things like your eating would be on top of that, right? So it really depends on the type of lifestyle that you have.
Okay, perfect. Thank you both so much. Unfortunately, we have a lot of questions that we are not going to answer today because we are running out of time. Just, Berna, a couple of people are asking about masters and PhDs. I know this is not your topic, but
Yeah.
if we can share with them some email or some contact information so that they can ask to the admissions teams. Okay.
Yeah. Did you want me to put it in
Yes,
the
please.
chat?
Yes,
Sure.
and we can share with them. Also, I think we have answered the majority of the questions. We have someone that is studying mathematics, a bachelor in mathematics, and is interested on a master's, I imagine in the business school. So I think we can share with them contact information, and feel free to reach out. Of course, tomorrow when you receive the email with the registration of this webinar, you will be able to contact the university. And we invite you to the open house next week, the 23rd. Okay,
Yep.
Berna, is that right? Yes. In case you want to go through other majors of the University of Manitoba. With all this said, I would like you both, if you can, leave our participants a final message before we close the webinar. Okay.
Varna, you can go first.
Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you all so much for taking the time to attend today's webinar. I hope you learned something new. Maybe you haven't heard of the University of Manitoba before, or even the Asper School of Business. Like I said, and we've talked about various times already today, but we understand that it is a big decision to leave your home community, to leave your family, to completely uproot your life essentially and come to a different province or a different country. I just want to say that it's not something that we take lightly. It's something that we want to really help you feel supported by. And it's something that I personally really want you to feel supported by. Although I am Canadian, I shared briefly that my family is immigrants from Mexico. And so I do understand that comes with its challenges and learning a new language and things like that. So I do understand the hardships sometimes to go through for that. And I think that I really apply that into the day-to-day work that I do. And I just want people to understand the systems that we have in place, and the support that we do have. So unfortunately, sometimes if people don't reach out, they do kind of not know or know where to go. But even if it's not my area of expertise, please reach out to me, because I would be happy to pass along your information to the right people if I'm not the correct person. But if you are looking at coming to the University of Manitoba and the Asper School of Business, I'd be happy to connect with you. My email is asperundergradrecruit@umanitoba.ca. That was shared a couple of times in the presentation, but please don't be a stranger. I really do hope to connect with all of you and see where this goes. And hopefully you can figure out that this is really a great decision for you. And yeah, I hope that Sid really showed that firsthand by going through the experience. But yeah, we really just cheer each other on here in Manitoba, and that's something that I think really is unique to us. I've lived in other Canadian cities before, and that's not always the case. So I just want you to feel very welcomed and supported, and don't be shy to reach out. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Berna. Thank you so much.
Well said, Verna. I think the last note I'll leave everyone on is the fact that you're even thinking about potentially, leaving your home countries and moving to Canada, whether it's at the U of M or somewhere else. That already shows a lot about the ambition that you're carrying when it comes to what you want to do with the future. I know I can speak for Winnipeg, but just in general, I think that shows the promise that all of you guys have to offer. And there is something very satisfying, challenging, but satisfying about moving to a new country, building your life from scratch, and then being able to share that with your family and friends when they come and visit and celebrate your accomplishments, whether it might be graduation, first full-time job, first car, first house, and whatnot. So there is something very satisfying for when you achieve all of that. And I know that was something that was always a thought in my mind, to be able to share that with my family and friends, so you celebrate everything together. So if that's what your long-term goal is, I would highly recommend Winnipeg and the U of M, but I would always say just believe in the potential that you have. There might be doubts, there might be challenges. You will come across it, even if it might not feel like that right now.
Okay, so thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Sidhant, for joining us today. It was a pleasure for me to have you as my guests. And we have now reached the end of today's webinar. On behalf of WeUni and Asper School of Business, I'd like to thank each and every participant who joined us today. Your presence and especially your questions made this session much more dynamic. So thank you very much. As a final reminder, if you would like to receive your certificate of attendance, please make sure to fill out the form I have shared in the chat. You will then receive your certificate directly in your email. Also, tomorrow you're going to receive the registration of this webinar on your emails too, with more contact information to reach out with Asper School of Business. Once again, thank you all for being here with us. We look forward to seeing you in the next events organized by WeUni. Have you all a wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. Goodbye.
Bye.